So, this was the game that, Devin Booker and the side chick Kevin Durant was supposed to show up. It was their big moment to make a mistake, to make a statement. When I remember when the Suns, when Kyrie left the net, and then we heard that KD was going to Phoenix Suns. A lot of people were like, "Oh, that's going to give them some good championship metal." Because remember, the season before they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks in the final, and again they capitulated in the last game, completely destroyed. And then last season they lost to Dallas Mavericks on their home court, shamefully, because the beatdown was too much. And so this season, everybody was like, okay, Devin Booker, there's DeAndre Ayton. They've taken the Suns as far as they can go. There's Chris Paul, who's a veteran in the league, but has never won a ring. Ooh! So so that which is why I like Rajon Rondo. Whatever Rajon Rondo said Chris Paul did, he did it. I've told you before. But they were like, if you add KD, his shot making, this one, that one, he was going to improve their championship potential. Alas, KD comes in, and yes, he struggled with injuries for most of the regular season, but he started getting fit into the playoffs. So nobody really expected much from him at the start of the playoffs, but we expected him to grow into it, seeing that he's won the championship with the Golden State Warriors. I guess we now know who was carrying whom. But I get into the game last night or early hours of this morning, depending where your geographical location is. And for the first 9 minutes, for the first 9 minutes, Suns and Nuggets were, trading shots. It was still close up. 3 minutes to the end of the first quarter. That's when everything fell apart.
Things fall apart.
And it fell apart because the center could not hold. And I will make an excuse for the Phoenix Suns now. They were without Ayton, DeAndre Ayton, the center in the paint. So we understand that defensively and offensively, under the post, they may be struggling a little bit. But what really changed that game was that Denver Nuggets started making stops. And that was it. And which is what I think Golden State Warriors should do if they are going to extend the series to Game 7. They started making stops, and that's important. The first overturns, they started making stops, and then they got crucial three-pointers from Caldwell Pope when they needed it. And that's where they were able to build about 18 points to the end of the first quarter, and then they ran away with it. At some point, they were leading the Nuggets. Sorry, at halftime they were leading the Nuggets by 30.
By 30, yeah.
Yeah, so
they were even good off court.
Yeah, it was horrible. So they scored 62 points in the paint. They scored 42 points on field. It was express. There was nothing happening. Like, there was no defense from the Phoenix Suns. Now, you expected that at some point, even if they couldn't defend, their key players will step up and make some points. Kevin Durant was 0 of 5 in the first quarter.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes. And then Devin Booker was 4 of 13 in the entire game. In fact, at the end of the game, Devin Booker had 12 points. Devin Booker was 4 of 13 in the entire game. In fact, at the end of the game, Devin Booker had 12 points. He ended the game with 12 points on a big night when you're supposed to show up and show out. Now, on the other hand, the star player there, Nikola Jokic, everybody can talk about the fact that he finished with another triple-double, and he's now the highest scoring triple-double center in NBA playoff history. He had 32 points, I think 10 rebounds, 12 assists. You can talk about that, but it was the way this guy was running plays. This guy's passing is smoother than that of a point guard. Think Steve Nash. That's how his passing is smooth and accurate, and he was just making the plays happen. Also helping him was Jamal Murray. Now, Jamal Murray, before the game, Jamal Murray was put on the injury list, like he was ill and they were not sure he was going to be able to feature. Well, he featured and scored 26 points. That's a sick guy with 26 points. The big guys on the other side, they were not ill. They were not injured. They're not carrying any lingering anything.
So what if he wasn't
12
sick?
points and 23 points. Exactly. What if he wasn't sick? So really good game by the Denver Nuggets. So happy to see them in the finals. Fast forward to the Eastern Conference, where the Boston Celtics met up with the Philadelphia 76ers. And again, that was another elimination game. I was at Philadelphia. Everybody thought Philadelphia would be able to close out the series on their home court. Efia. You see that Jason Tatum have been abusing since he started dating. He doesn't know how to play basketball again. He turned up last night too. Everywhere. Like he wanted to prove a point to me. Like people have been snitching on me and telling him I said things about him. Because this guy, offensively, defensively, he was everywhere. He made shots that he made buckets that he hasn't made all through the playoffs. He was very good defensively, very good offensively. His passing was amazing. Somebody has told him something I said, but what he did was he was able to lead his team to a very narrow win against Philadelphia. But the fact that he did it on Philadelphia's home court means that they now have home court advantage in Boston. So they're going to go to Boston and it's a one game shootout. Whoever wins is through to the final.
Winner takes all.
Winner takes all. So people should stop gossiping about me. People should stop gossiping about me.
Alrighty, let's check out the next story here. And well, in the football world, not exciting times for Nigeria. I saw the end of that game yesterday, and I felt a bit deflated. But let me take this one here now. Burkina Faso edged out Nigeria 2-1 at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Algiers to progress to the semi-finals of the Total Energies Under-17 AFCON and clinch Africa's last available slot for the Under-17 FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, this one was a little painful for me because, I watched the Under-20 guys. They played football that was scratching my eye. But they made it to the World Cup. They at least qualified for the World Cup. These guys played good football. And now they have crashed out. They were a little like my weight loss program. I really wanted to lose weight around my ribs, but I'm losing weight everywhere else but there. That's exactly
but Tega, you know that you cannot spot lose the weight.
That's not the issue. Let's not talk about how. Let's just say that that's what I want to do. But that's exactly how their football was. They played brilliantly in all the right places, except from the final touch. And that was where the problem was. All through the tournament, they'd create chance after chance and not take advantage of it. Yeah. And so because they were progressing through the next round, I'm sure it was one of the things that in the why they would have looked at them and said, guys, you guys need to kill off games. But even yesterday against Burkina Faso's first chance shot at goal is what they scored from. Before then, Nigeria has already started. It should have been 3-0 to the Golden Eaglets. So you look at all the close chances, all the clean shots. They hit the that was it. They hit the post twice as early as that in the first game, and then the ball goes to the other end, and Burkina Faso gets a goal. You're just like, what do we have to do?
You just begin to scratch your head.
Do you understand? And then the guys go 2 up again after Nigeria has created several chances. Nigeria was able to get one back, but it was all the missed chances that they didn't get. You can argue about a poor deflection of the goalkeeper's save for the first goal. You can argue about a little bit of defensive lapses here. But believe me, if they have taken 40% of their chances, that match would have been a rout.
It would have been.
Well, that ended like 5-2.
But take a looking at this Under-17 team, looking at how well they've played up to the point where they were knocked out, does it look like there's a good future?
Yeah, the problem with Nigeria is that we are participation focused, competition focused. So if there's no competition, the boys tend to be forgotten. And at that Under-17 age, it's not yet the most professional level. So you will find people that will drop down. Now, if they had qualified for the World Cup, that'd be a completely different kettle of fish because now there's a competition that they're preparing for. So there'd be deliberate and intentional action taken to see that these guys stay together, to see that these guys are playing regularly, to monitor their progress. But now that they didn't qualify for the World Cup, everybody answer your papa name. That's unfortunately what happens. In systems that work, in Europe and in America, there'd be like a program that these boys would have been into, after this one and try to see that if they can progress to other 20s and so on. But in Nigeria, it's competition focused. If there's no competition, no attention.
Rinse and repeat.
That's the biggest problem.
Let's take a message quickly here from WhatsApp. This is from Omogboy, and he says, Tega, yesterday the Under-17 boys were awful because they were really nervous and it was so obvious. They conceded 2 goals from their own mistakes.
Yes, so you can say they were awful, but I would say they played well. They just didn't finish. With all this, they're awful that people are talking. They're nervous. They're misplacing passes. How many chances did they create compared to what the Burkina Faso did? So I like when people watch him. If they had won that match, you'd be like, oh, these boys are just wasting chances. But because they didn't win this match, you saw all the other things that has been going on and should happen at under 17. So yes, I would say yeah, they were nervous, but the problems that made them go out yesterday are the problems we had seen from the first match, which was they're just not clinical enough.
And of course,
Just
if you
not.
don't score
If
goals,
you don't score
you
goals,
can't
see,
win games.
if you don't score goals and you can't win games. But yes, you also have to be defensively clinical. But you see, at this level of football, these are the errors you should see. If you don't see these errors at this level of football, go and do another MRI.
To go and be entirely sure of
All
what's
right,
going
so
on.
let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about what we'll be talking about. Talking about maybe Barcelona, Manchester City,
Tennis as well.
and tennis. We'll open
Sabalenka.
the phone lines for all of that.
All right, stay tuned.
What are you saying? Stop pushing me. You can talk now. If this our fake producer, very fake producer. This came and started something late.
You did try small speed.
Okay, how are you, Jerry? Don't mind this man. I know that when I see Padre. He said no one snitched on me. They watched the locker room. I swear, Jason Tatum was just trying to prove me wrong yesterday. I was like, dude, and you know their game was a little early. It was like 12:30 a.m. ish. So that's early as opposed to.
I don't know how you guys stay up that early. I'm not so sure of any moment again.
That's why I always have bags under my eye and I'm always sleeping.
But like 9:30, 10. Now I don't enter bed though. I don't fit try.
Cannot even be me. See, even if I lie down on the bed by 10 o'clock, I will toss and turn.
The sleep will come. It will come by force by fire.
My sleep
Because
never
before
comes.
4, I'm up again.
No. I kid you not. That's how I think it's my body. If I climb bed by 10 p.m., if I'm extremely tired and I sleep off, I wake up by 1. If I'm not tired, I will toss and turn on that bed until I just start to watch something else. So I don't deceive myself again. It's a waste of time. If I'm tired, I'll go to bed. I know that I'll wake up at 1 and miss a game. But that I would go to bed at 10 and sleep till morning, I've not seen it.
NBA does the hot. Lakers, Golden State. What's going to happen now?
Look.
Now 3-2 then they like this.
That's what I was saying. If Golden State do not make those stops, because it's not just about making buckets now. What changed in Nuggets game was that they stopped for a period. They stopped Suns from scoring. So you need to get those stops, those turnovers, force those errors, get those steals, get those fast break points. Defensively, Golden State Warriors are vulnerable. And for me, that's the reason why Lakers have the better edge.
One more win and Lakers are
gone. Yeah.
If symptoms persist after 3 days, consult your doctor. My name is Alpha. Grab a cup of coffee and chill. This is the smooth breakfast.
Smooth 98.1. You're welcome back to the locker room. This is Ayo and Tega right here with you in the locker room this morning. Let's take some comments from YouTube. This is from LK Adiroba.
YouTube people.
And he says, I need to compliment Tega on her outstanding look yesterday. The Chinese looking outfit, quote unquote, was excellent. And Padre Pio Pio says, no one snitched on you, Tega. They watch locker room.
Yeah, I think Tatum is watching it. I think so. All right, keep those messages coming on YouTube and on WhatsApp. But first, let's go to Rome and see what's happening with tennis.
Yes, let's check out tennis. But just to remind our listeners, the number to send messages to on WhatsApp is 0809 440 981. All right, now off to Rome, where world number 2 Arena Sabalenka suffered an early shock at the Italian Open on Thursday as the informed Belarusian crashed to a 7-6, 6-2 defeat by American Sofia Kenin in a high-octane second-round match.
All right, so it's crazy because when they mentioned her ranking 130 something, everybody's like, how can world number 2 lose to a 130 something ranked player? No, Sofia Kenin has history. This girl has won a Grand Slam title before. And she, at some point in her life, and at some point in her life, she was one of the top 5 players in the world. But injuries happen and surgeries happen.
Mm.
And so she dropped from that ranking due to injuries and surgeries and trying to come back and not being able to. So she's not, her ranking may be poor, but her expertise is on the next level. And that's a Grand Slam champion you're talking about. She's also played several finals before. So she's not,
She's not a rookie or anything like that.
exactly. She's not Gen Z. She didn't come yesterday. You know? So she, I mean, when she got on court, I remember it was, oh, Sophia Kenen, it's an upset. I don't want to call this an upset. I mean, I understand calling it an upset because of the ranking and the form of Sabalenka, especially in 2023. But I like to call it a comeback by Sophia Kenen. She's making a statement that I gave people a break, but now I'm coming back to get what's mine. And if you know anything about Sophia Kenen, it's how she celebrates herself on every point. It doesn't matter whether she's trailing in her own service game by 15 to 40, she's celebrating that point. So
every point is worth
exactly.
celebrating.
So she's very distracting on the other side. She's intense, and she's a little petty, pretty. So you expect her to be a little bit more composed. She's not like that. She's very intense. So she can be a distraction on the other side of the court because she's arguing with herself when she misses something. She's hitting her body. She's just something else. But she put in the work yesterday, and eventually she won the match. Also yesterday, that was not the only big name that crashed. Jessica Pegula was knocked out by Taylor Townsend. Now Taylor had a baby like 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, but you could still see she has not completely lost all the.
She's not there yet.
Fully. Baby fat, but the way she came with that venom, I was like, this woman has already learned to be a mother in how many minutes? Because the way she was swatting those balls. There was nothing Jessica could do. Everything was chased down. Every point, every shot was calculated. Every game was articulated. It was like Townsend was just ready to win. I don't know how consistently she can play that good because her numbers on every part of the court, on her return on her serves, in her winnings, everything was too clean. I don't know that she can repeat that kind of clean game back to back. But what I know is that yesterday, she'd be proud of her tennis.
Could it be that Pegula wasn't expecting that that's the kind of fireball that was going to come at her?
No. Pegula would know her. They're both from the US. They both came through the US system. So they would know themselves even when it comes to the national teams, when it comes to the teams. They would know themselves. They're familiar with themselves. But I'm not sure if Pegula was ready.
she was not prepared.
They decked her. That was not beating. They decked her very well. All right, so let's take the next story.
All right, let's head over to the Europa League where AS Roma grabbed a 1-0 home victory over Bayer Leverkusen in their Europa League semi-final first leg on Thursday night, thanks to 20-year-old Eduardo Bov's second half goal.
I would say this. It was when I was watching that match, I just when I saw the lineups, I just said it would be great to have a Sevilla Roma final. Because Sevilla are perennial winners of the Europa, but Jose Mourinho is a
Sevilla.
But Jose Mourinho is a perennial winner of trophies. So I want to see two of you.
Let us
put your CV put your CV against each other. In the other match, Sevilla took the lead. Unfortunately, they couldn't hang on to it. Juventus got a late equalizer. So
very late
equalizer. So that one is still hanging in the balance. And this one too is hanging in balance because you watch this Roma team and you wonder how did they get to a semi-final. In fact, how did they win a trophy last year? Because I would beat this team. They're so vulnerable defensively. They're so blunt in attack, and they're so weak in their midfield. Like these players, I don't know how Jose Mourinho does it because what he's doing is tantamount to a miracle. Because you look at that defense and every opportunity, there's a gap, there's an opening, there's an error, and you're like, are you professional footballers at all? And up front, Tammy Abraham is just the most annoying person. He'd throw his body at the ball, but not necessarily aim to get the ball all the time. I could see why Chelsea sold you. That's all I can say.
He's trying.
He's trying. I mean, so it's not the most solid team, but somehow they're squeezing out the right results, and they got the goal they needed yesterday. And unfortunately for them too, they also prevented the goals they could have considered because they had some goals that it was handmade by them. They gave it to Leverkusen like this. Leverkusen couldn't take advantage, so that was the biggest issue. So it ends 1-0 there, but Alonso and his team have shown that they're brilliant and they can, in Germany they could probably
I mean, going back to the arena, anything could actually happen there.
Could happen, so they could make a change.
No away goals.
No away goal rules. Yeah. They could go there and make a but it's Jose Mourinho side. You know that last it will be draw.
You pack spaceship or something.
You pack a train, not a train, a train station.
No, just to talk about Sevilla briefly. Now, I watched the first half of that game against Juventus yesterday, and what I can say is they were over Juventus like flies.
Yeah, but
I was expecting Juventus to come out and do something, but it was almost all Sevilla in that first half.
No, Sevilla had the plot. In fact, Sevilla, for me, I would say Sevilla was the one that missed the plot. So for me, it was Sevilla that had lost I would call it a loss for them because they had the total advantage to take a commanding lead into the second leg. But yeah, I didn't expect Juventus to do more. This is Sevilla's village.
Whenever
they're in Europa, is concerned, they know everywhere in this Europa.
Let's take a message here from WhatsApp, Chimobi Victor, and he says, good morning, guys. Looking forward to seeing my Arsenal smashing Brighton by 3-1. Okay. Whilst the Europa League final will be a cracker, as I would like to see Sevilla versus Roma. Same thing that Tega echoed. I would like to check something. we all want to check that thing. This is from Tayo. Tayo says, so Mkhitaryan, Damian, and Lord Lukaku are one step closer to UEFA final than Man United in donkey years. Oh, wow.
Tayo, you don't need to go there.
Wow, that was unnecessary.
Yeah, that's unnecessary. Very unnecessary. For that, let's move to the next story.
Yes, on to the next story. And in the Premier League, Manchester City can take a giant stride towards a third consecutive Premier League title by beating Everton this weekend. But rejuvenated Arsenal have not given up hope of springing a surprise.
Oh yes, and if you're to go by the form of both teams that opponents that both of them have, you'd say Brighton be a tougher nut to crack than Everton for Manchester City. Now I know what the results say. I know that Everton won their last match and Brighton lost their last match by a shocking.
They slapped Brighton.
By a shocking margin. However, there are moments and then there's the form of the team, and so based on the form of the team, it's going to be a tough one for Arsenal. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday, especially because of the way Arsenal also plays. Their football is expansive, is expressive, is open, and they can go out there looking for goals, and Brighton hits them on the counter-attack, and you know how quick Brighton are on the counter. So it's a tough one for Arsenal this weekend, but they can still keep up the pressure if they manage to win their match. However, they play after Manchester City on Sunday. Yeah, so the pressure will be times 2. So if Manchester City does the job they need to do against Everton, which most people think that Manchester City, with the quality side that they have against this Everton side that have been leaking goals per second, they should be able to do it, then that pressure just becomes even worse or worser, as they say in the street. However, Manchester City has a problem because they are fighting on many other fronts. And so the question is not about the quality of players they have, but how Pep Guardiola is going to be able to manage that team to face Everton and then have enough in the tank to face Real Madrid in the Champions League. And that's what it is because of the multiple front war that they're taking on. The question is, how do you manage that side? And so that's going to come into play whether you like it or not. Do we play Haaland for 70 minutes? Do we play Kevin De Bruyne at all? How many minutes are we going to give when it comes to Ruben Dias, Rodri, and the rest of them? So those are the questions that Pep Guardiola is going to have to answer ultimately, and I think that's where Everton can hope that playing at home and Pep managing his team, they could maybe frustrate them a little. I very much doubt it.
One thing I do know is that Pep is not going to be very well liked this weekend by FPL managers who begin to ask themselves questions as well.
Yeah, no, if you're doing FPL, no. If you're doing FPL, don't be looking at Man City players. You should have sold your Man City players by now. All right, so we'll open the phone lines for some people. If you were Pep Guardiola, how do you play? You have Everton on Sunday. Why did they even put Everton on Sunday, knowing that these people would play on Wednesday? Could have played them on Saturday so that they'll have more break.
Well, you know how the Premier League is.
This Premier League, they don't even help themselves.
They don't help.
They don't help. So, all right. So, if you're Pep Guardiola, how do you manage that team? Numbers to call are
0144899881.
All right. So tell us what you think. How would you manage your team if you're Pep Guardiola? Who do you play? Who do you drop? Who do you rest? I'll play Erling Haaland every day of the week and twice on Sunday. How old is he? His job is
He's
not
still
to run.
22.
At this age, you'll be running around.
Score 2 goals in the first half and then go and rest.
Do you understand?
That's
If just
simple.
score 2 quick goals and go, you can afford to. In fact, you can afford to even play back to back. You're still young. That's
But you know, Pep will be thinking, what if they go and break his ankle or something?
I think he will break somebody's ankle. All right, let's take the next story while we wait on those phone calls and your messaging. All right.
All right, let's head over to Spain, where runaway leaders Barcelona will have the chance to clinch their 27th La Liga crown with 4 games to spare when they face city rivals Espanyol on Sunday.
Yeah. I just realized we don't have time to even take phone calls, so we are so sorry. But let's talk about Barcelona. Yes, because they could clinch the title this weekend if they win against Espanyol, and they'd want to do that. But Espanyol are saying, you know what, we're going to stall your win by putting up a big performance. I think many things are motivation for Barcelona this weekend. Sergio Busquets has announced his retirement, so you want to send him off with a win, number one against the rival, and number two with a title against the rival.
Very
So
true.
that's a very good way to send off one of your greats from the club. But number three, you just want to wrap it up because at this business end of the season, nobody wants to be that intense. You know, people have already started planning their holiday. They've already bought airline
let's make it
tickets.
official.
Let's just make it official and end this business. So 13 points ahead of Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. No chance of them catching them with a few games left. Let us wrap it up and go.
And go home. And go on holiday.
All right. I'm so sorry about opening the phone lines late, but that's all we can take right now. You can make your phone calls next week. Yeah, next week.
Yes, Locker Room
We'll
back
but let's just
Monday.
take one message before we go.
Yes, it's from Ejike, and he says, knowing how good the team is, I would play the strong starting 11 and get the game as good as done after the halftime. With 5 substitutions, Pep should make good use of it. But knowing the overthinking he does, a double game week will give Pep's players like 0 or 1 point.
Don't even take them.
Tayo says, Alvarez to the rescue for Man City. Don't worry, Everton can hope, but Pep tactics can handle them.
All right, and that's all we can take. We leave the studio now for Ayo and his runaway comrade.
Thank you so much, Tega, for coming in. We'll be back again on a Monday with the Locker Room. All right, people, still the smooth breakfast. More to come at 9 o'clock. Lagos, you'll get talking on Lagos Talks. Stay with us.